Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns. Alan Miller with you. And we have a first-time guest, very interesting gentleman who has quite a story, a life story, Ron Rabinovitz. And Ron grew up with Jackie Robinson, so to speak.
Yes, I did.
And it really is an interesting story. Now, you were originally from Wisconsin.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin, yes.
Now tell us how Jackie Robinson became a part of your life.
Well, my father was an attorney in Sheboygan, and he loved the Dodgers because they gave Jackie an opportunity to play Major League Baseball. And he used to read me stories about Jackie, and he said to me one day, how would you like to meet him someday? And I said, boy, would I love that. Well, unbeknownst to me, he wrote Jackie a letter and told him how much I admired him. And Jackie wrote back with an autographed picture, and he said next time the club's in Milwaukee playing the Braves, he would love to meet me. At that time, the Atlanta Braves were the Milwaukee Braves.
Right.
So we went to a Dodger-Brave game, and Alan, it was the first game I was ever at that I couldn't wait for it to end because I knew what was going to happen later. And we went down to the locker room and waited for him to come out. And when he came out, I ran up to him with about 50 other kids, and I said, Jackie, I'm Ronnie Rabinovitz. And he said, I said, do you remember me? And he said, sure. And my dad's standing over my shoulder, and he said, sure, Jackie, with the thousands of letters you get, how would you remember? He says, I remember your dad wrote me on lawyer stationery. And from that time, we became the best of friends. And he said to me...
Now, how old were you at this time?
I was 7 years old when this happened. And he said to me, he said, stay in touch. And I said, my God, he wants to hear from me again. So I wrote him a letter, Jackie Robinson, Stamford, Connecticut, no address, no zip code. And he'd write back, Ronnie Rabinovitz, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, no address, no zip code. And we became the very dearest of friends. All through my growing up years, he would write letters to me in longhand, beautiful long letters. And I would write back to him, and it was a tremendous relationship.
Well, he was a unique individual and a courageous individual, and you know, I will always say that Branch Rickey was really, really ahead of his time and very courageous by taking the first African American into the major leagues, and of course, and that certainly opened the door.
It sure
but
did.
in addition to that, Jackie was a very brave individual for all the abuse that he took.
Oh my God, terrible.
And you know, that's documented in all sorts of publications.
Right,
But
right. I mean,
he
if you
unbelievably had to withstand so
terrible.
much and still attain greatness.
Yeah. When you think about it, Alan, of any rookie going into the major leagues, the pressure that they have to make it in the big leagues, and then you have Jackie, who was getting catcalls and balls thrown at his head and being spiked and all these other things.
And
he
the
was
the umpires didn't do him any favors
No, they
either.
sure didn't. They sure did. They even his own teammates at the time didn't want to play with him. And later on, they realized that what he was doing was, that he was helping the Dodgers win pennants just like they were, and they kind of rallied around.
More than most of them were.
Yeah, that's
Stealing bases.
Oh my God!
And,
He wasn't a big home run hitter, but he'd get a single and he'd steal second, steal third, he'd steal home. He stole home 19 times, including once in the World Series. And Yogi Berra still said he was out, but he wasn't. He was safe.
And it's an incredible story.
It really is, and I felt so fortunate getting to know him so well. And he was such a hero. He never drank, he never smoked, he never took drugs, and he never refused to sign a kid's autograph. It's amazing.
That in and of itself
That's right.
is amazing. And you go into any ballpark in the country, any major league ballpark, and you'll see among the jerseys that are not worn by any other player, number 42.
Number 42.
And
That's right.
that was Jackie Robinson.
My favorite number.
And I think I saw that on your email address, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
that's right. That's right. That's correct. Absolutely. I love that number. So we got together many times for lunches and dinners. He was at my 10th birthday in Milwaukee.
I think we have a picture of that. Can we bring up some of those pictures now? And we can run through them. Ron can explain them to us.
There it is.
Is that your 10th birthday?
Yeah, that was my 10th
Okay.
birthday. That's me looking over Jackie's shoulder. It was pretty amazing. That day he hit a home run, and we were sitting near the Dodger dugout on the third base side. And as he was rounding third, he waved to me like, "That one's for you." And this was in 1955, which was the year that they finally beat the Yankees. So that night we had dinner with him, and to have Jackie Robinson singing "Happy Birthday" to me was just amazing. It was a thrill of a lifetime.
The story itself is really amazing.
It is.
And your father, I know your father was active in politics, and he
Right.
went on to become a U.S. District Court judge, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's right.
And that he had the vision to write this letter initially,
Right.
and it struck a chord in Robinson
Right.
because he responded.
He did respond. That's right.
Okay, let's see some of the other pictures now. That was the 10th birthday party. There
This
we go.
was after he retired from baseball. That's my sister on my right, and my dad and Jackie. He used to come back to Wisconsin many times. He was very active in the organization, the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and he would come back for sports banquets and other functions. And he would let us know when he was coming in, and we would spend the afternoon or the evening or the weekend with him, whatever it was.
And let's see the next picture.
This was outside the Milwaukee County Stadium. That's me with my Brooklyn Dodger hat and glove. And those were two of my friends from Sheboygan that we brought along. Good, dear friends.
People must have really had their mouths open when they saw the attention you were getting from Robinson,
Unbelievable.
who was certainly the biggest name in sport at
He
the time.
sure was.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my first letter, and I told my friends, I got a letter from Jackie Robinson. They said, yeah, sure, I got a letter from Donald Duck.
Yeah.
And I showed them the letter, and they were just loved it, you know. And all my teachers, everybody knew about
Well,
it.
it talks to the uniqueness
It does.
of the individual.
When you think about it, Alan, I was white, he was black. I was Jewish, he was Christian. I was a kid, he was an adult. I was from a little town in the Midwest, he was from a large city out east. And yet there was this bond of friendship and love. It was tremendous.
And it got not only attention from Robinson, it's gotten over the years a lot of media attention.
Yes, it
and I mean, reel off some of the appearances that you've had as a result of this friendship.
Well, the first thing that happened was in 1987. It was the 40th anniversary of Jackie being honored for breaking the color line in baseball. And I wanted to be part of it in some way, and I didn't know exactly how. So I called Major League Baseball in New York, and one person led me to the next and the next. I finally talked to the producer of a Game of the Week, if you recall, on Saturday afternoons. There used to be a Game of the Week. So I sent him a couple letters for authenticity, and he said, this is phenomenal. He says, unfortunately, I have 18-minute, half-hour show, which equates to 18 minutes. I've got Rachel Robinson, I've got Don Newcomb, I've got Pee Wee Reese and Roy Campanella.
Rachel being his wife.
Yes, his wife. Your story would get lost. So I said, look, I'm not looking for any money. I'm not looking for any fame. All I'm looking to do is tell a story of a man and a boy. So he says, I just hung up with a reporter from the Chicago Sun-Times. So I called him. He called me back. We spoke for an hour on the phone. He ended up flying up to Minneapolis, spent a whole day with me. And as I'm driving him back to the airport, I said, Brian, how big of an article do you think this will be? And he said, well, you know, the Sun-Times is like a tabloid, like a magazine. Well, it came out, he said, probably 2 pages. I said, oh, my God. Well, it came out that Sunday. It was a 4-page story, and he won an award from the AP as the best public interest story of 1987. Then the Star and Tribune did a story. Then I get a call from a school. Would I come in and talk? I said, I'd love to. So I said, all right, kids, how many ever heard of Jackie Robinson? And this little boy stood up and said, no, who is she? And I said, who is she? And then I realized, how would they know? So that began the passion that I knew, and I
And
loved
you
it.
have gone to many schools.
Yes,
and
and organizations and companies all over the country.
you've also gotten a lot more media attention.
Yes.
And there was actually a documentary film made
Right.
of your relationship with Robinson. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And all these things have happened by accident. In 1997, for instance, Rachel came to Minneapolis and was honored by the Twins, and there was a press conference at the Metrodome. And I was invited to the press conference, and I had never met Rachel before. And afterwards, I went up to her and I said, Rachel, I'm Ronnie Rabinovitz, and she hugged and kissed me, and she said, oh my God, Jack loved you so much. And I showed her all the
He
pictures.
died
and
much too early.
Yes, he was 53 years old when he died. He died in 1972. And I promised her at that time that I would continue to carry his message. So then in 2007, the USA Today did a big article on the front page of their sports section. And then it went national. Before it was more of a local story. And I got invited by the Jeff Idelson from the Baseball Hall of Fame. They flew me out there, and I spoke at the Hall of Fame, which was tremendous. I was so excited. I'd never been there before. And then they have in the basement,
Cooperstown, New York.
Yeah, in
not
Cooperstown.
exactly the biggest metropolis in the
No,
world.
it's a tough place to get to. It's an hour and a half out of Albany. It's yeah. So we went down in the basement. It's not open to the public. I had to wear white gloves, and I held Babe Ruth's bat, and I held Jackie's uniform. It was so thrilling.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Then we went. I got close to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers were coming to Milwaukee to play the Brewers. So I had made arrangements with them to get on the field for batting practice. I wanted to meet 2 people, Juan Pierre, who was now the Dodgers center fielder, and Orlando Hudson, who was the second baseman, who both had said in articles how much they loved Jackie. So I wanted to show them these pictures and letters, And they came over and they just flipped. They loved it. So this woman came wandering by and she says, "What's all this commotion?" She turned out to be a producer for the MLB network. And I showed her all the letters and she just loved it. So we stayed in touch for a while, and then she called one day and she said, "Our people absolutely love this." And they created a documentary called Letters from Jackie, which they still play off and on.
Yeah, once in a while. I have
MLB.
seen it on
Have you seen it?
occasion. Yeah.
Yeah, Curtis Granderson was the host, and Dennis Haysbert, I don't know if you know that name.
I do.
Oh, he's tremendous. He read the letters off camera with that beautiful voice. So, I mean, all these things have happened by accident. I was speaking to a school in Edina one day, had a great time with them. This was right after the USA Today article came out. And kids were going back to their class afterwards, and I'm standing around talking to the teachers, and all of a sudden this woman comes running in. It's the principal secretary. "Oh my God, you can't leave. Katie Couric just called from CBS News." I said, "What?" So she said, "Can you stay?" I said, "Well, I'll stay. I'll be happy to." So I'm waiting. Nobody shows up. And I'm looking at my watch, and I had to get back to Liberty Carton where I was working, meet a customer. So I said, "I'm really sorry I can't stay." So I get in my car. I call my wife, and she said, "Are you crazy walking away from Katie Couric?" I said, "Well, I got to make a living. What am I going to do?" So I got all these voicemails from CBS News. They apparently were in Chicago doing a story. They were at O'Hare on their way back to New York. And Sean McManus, the president of CBS News, saw this article in the USA Today and flagged him down, said, "Would you come here?" So they said, "Sure." I said, "Sure, I'd love to see you." So they flew in. They spent about 4 hours at our home and just was rushing, you know. Then on Friday night on a rush hour traffic around 4:15, they raced down to WCCO and downloaded it. And it was on the CBS Evening News that night. Katie Couric wasn't here, but Cynthia Bowers, one of their national correspondents. So, I mean, all these things have happened by accident. It's just...
It's amazing how this friendship between a young boy
Yes.
and the first black star of baseball, the first black player, African-American of baseball, really turned into something. And you have recently authored a book about all
I
this.
did, a children's book. It should come out probably in 2018, the way it looks. It's called Always Jackie. And that's how we used to always sign his letters. At the end of the letters, always, comma, Jackie.
Yeah, I think we have one or two more pictures there.
Sure.
So let's see what we haven't shown to the folks so far. Okay, there
This
we
was
go.
on the field in Milwaukee next to the Dodger dugout. That's me with Jackie and my sister and a friend. I always like to take some friends with me just to introduce them to Jackie.
Okay, and what's next?
This was a telegram he sent me when I graduated from high school.
Yeah, this is really moving. You know,
Yeah,
as I saw it and I read this, and you know, when you think that a kid in the Midwest at age 16 or thereabouts
Right.
gets a congratulatory telegram from
Right.
really a Hall of Famer.
Right.
It's such a unique situation, and you can see the affection between he and you just by reading. And I think we have one more picture, so why don't we get that out of the way? And who is that man?
I think I know him well. That ball is very interesting. I had you know, as a kid, you know, you get impatient, and it takes 45 minutes for an hour before the players come out of the dressing room. And there's nothing to see or do. You're kind of in the bowels of the stadium and the gray walls. And there was this only thing you could do. There was a big sign on the locker room door. It said, "Warning, trespassing, do not enter. You could go to jail," in legal jargon. So we used to read that over and over just to kill time. So one day Jackie comes out and he says, "Come here." And he takes me by the hand and takes me into the dressing room. And the first thing I said to him,
Into the inner sanctum.
Yeah.
The forbidden area.
Yeah.
Yes.
First thing I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to jail." And he laughed at me and he said, no, you're with me. He took that ball, a brand new ball, And he took me from locker to locker to locker. All my heroes, Don Newcomb, Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella, Carl Ferrillo. Sandy Koufax was a rookie that year. They were all shaking my hand, patting me on the back. I mean, I was numb. And he went me from he took all those, to all the players, signed the balls, and he was so busy getting autographs for me, Alan, that he forgot to sign the ball himself. but of course, I got many more signatures from him and autographs, and he was just a great guy.
The picture is really unique in and of
Thank
itself.
you.
And we can see the background, of course, is Jackie Robinson. I take it this is in your home.
Yes, stealing
Yeah.
home.
But to catch it in midair like
Isn't that
with
amazing?
the smile
Yeah.
and expression on
Yeah.
your face, it's really, really
Thank you. That was a
and
great,
excellent.
this photographer who did it. It was actually a photographer from the USA Today who did that picture, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites.
Now,
We used to play with those balls. I mean,
you never realized the value of them at that time, right?
They had grass stains on them, and I had every baseball card. My dad's law office was right next to a tobacco and candy wholesale, so he'd bring me all those Topps bubble, the cards, and I used to play with them. They were hobby cards, If a guy was traded from to Reds to the Phillies, I'd cross out Reds and put Phillies. I mean, the kids used to put them in the spokes of their bikes, and you hear that flapping sound.
It's like comic books.
Yeah,
If
right.
I had today the
Yes.
comic books that I had then,
Right, exactly.
they sell for exorbitant
Yeah.
prices. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Now Robinson has a foundation also, does
Yes.
he not? Okay, tell us a little bit about
The year
that.
after Jackie passed away, Rachel started a foundation called the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which is a scholarship program for children of color and minorities to go to college. They have the greatest graduation rate of any scholarship program in the United States, 97%, which is way double the national average. And Jackie would have been so proud because education was so important to him. And he always encouraged me to stay in school and others. And he would have been. Rachel's done a magnificent job with this. She's 94 years old, by the way, and she's still going strong. God bless her.
And you still communicate with her.
I do. I got a beautiful letter from her not too long ago, and her daughter Sharon, who is she works for Major League Baseball. She's a vice president of education, and she travels around the country and talks about her dad like I do.
How fitting is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
And certainly, well, among other things, he set all kinds of records.
Yes, he did.
He really did.
He did.
He was courageous, as I said earlier, but he was also an incredible ball player.
Tremendous
And,
ball player.
So who do you root for today?
The Dodgers.
Still the Dodgers.
Oh boy, I bleed Dodger blue. I'll tell you. I love the
It's
Dodgers.
iffy right now in their division.
Yeah, well, they're ahead by 5 games right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the Giants are still a tough team to beat.
And so one's a Dodger fan. What about the
Always.
Twins?
I love the Twins too, but if they play the Dodgers, I'm a Dodger fan. But I actually work with the Twins. I do a lot of speaking. They have tour groups that come through the stadium, and I talk to a lot of them and to the kids. And
Well, I grew up a Yankee fan.
good team. Boy, they were a good team. Oh,
Used to go on Sundays. My parents and I would go to Yankee Stadium often on Sundays. And then as I got older, I took my own kids there.
Sure.
And this is when I still lived in New York.
Yeah.
And what have I got? I have well, my son now has a ball that was hit by Yogi Berra, among others.
Yeah.
And we have quite a bit of Twins bobbleheads and
yeah.
memorabilia.
Twins are a great organization.
They are.
The
They
Target
are.
Field is a beautiful stadium.
And we've had, well, when Patrick was with the Twins, Patrick
Yes.
Klinger, he was here. We've had many of the front office people here. Dave St. Peter is
Great
here
guy.
once
I'm
a
friend of
year.
Dave's. He's a wonderful guy.
And
Tremendous
he
guy.
doesn't miss a season
Yeah.
when he's here. When Terry Ryan was
General
the
manager,
general
yeah.
manager, Terry had been here. And
It's a tremendous organization.
Has been something. We used to go on the field at batting practice and do interviews of players. So we probably, over the 18 years that we're doing this, we probably have 50 or 60 players who at least have short interviews.
Yeah.
And in fact, when Dave was here this year, we had a full-size cutout of Brian Dozier. We still have it. Probably in storage.
Oh, do you?
And we had it behind Dave. And
they've had a tough season, but they'll come back.
Well,
they'll come back.
They have to get some pitching.
Yeah, they
in
need
fact,
pitching.
There was a good column today in the Star Tribune by Jim Suhan about the need for pitching.
Yeah.
And we had quite a Sharon and I quite a lengthy interview with Kyle Gibson. A few years back. Yeah. And he's such a laid-back young man.
Isn't that nice?
Nice young man, but I wish we could get some passion into him when he's pitching.
Right.
He is still that laid-back young man when he's pitching. And
good pitching will beat good hitting every day of the week.
Just about.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't believe me? Ask Sandy Koufax.
That's right. Or Kershaw.
Yeah. So what do you see for the future of baseball from your perspective? Obviously, the color line is long since broken.
Right. It disturbs me quite a bit, Alan, that African American kids are not playing baseball that much. There was at one time, I think 15, 16, or 17% African Americans. Now it's down to like 7%.
But they are playing
they're playing basketball or other things, And it's such a tremendous game. I used to drive down neighborhoods. You could see every corner kids were playing baseball. I have a grandson who just turned 9 yesterday. He's, of course, a huge Dodger fan like me. And Siggy is just a tremendous kid. He loves the Dodgers, too, and my son does. He loves baseball, and it gives me such pride and happiness.
I tried to play for many years, and let's put it this way. I still remember my hit.
Yeah.
And that's going back many years.
I played a long time. I loved it. I pitched and I played third base.
And we've been talking to Ron Rabinovitz, who just retired. I should mention he just retired from a long-time job. Last Friday is good enough to come in here and share with us his memories of growing up with Jackie Robinson, which is kind of unique and very personal. And I really appreciate the fact that you came in here to share that story with us and tell us about Jackie and Rachel and your life and how his really great exploits are woven into your life.
Thank you so
much. Ron,
much,
thank you so much.
I appreciate your coming. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.